new future. And in 1922, he did this drawing, famous drawing of the new city. And in the U.S., we took it seriously. So we have streets like this everywhere. This is near the airport in Washington, D.C., the Jefferson Davis Highway. It's named after the head of the Confederacy, the guy that was in favor of slavery. I don't know why they picked him. But anyway, this street is just like Corbusier's drawing, exactly. The traffic is separated. The buildings have no connection to the street. It's illegal to walk along the street. And it doesn't work for anything except for moving traffic. And this is the system, the drawing, the map that's often used by our engineering schools in the U.S. And the federal government and the state governments are for the through traffic, the freeway, the arterial, and the local roads are in the upper corner. That's the complexity of the city. They don't care about that. That's not their problem. They just worry about going through the city, not what the street does in the city. And this is a fundamental breakdown of thinking, where instead of the street network distributing traffic and adding to the value of property and to the sale of merchandise and to the social well-being and enjoyment of the city by the people, the purpose of the national transportation program is to blow through the city as fast as possible. And it had side effects. Now, another person who had this idea is Oscar Niemeyer, who's still alive, so I'll be gentle in my criticism. But he did Brasilia, and most of the major streets are grade separated, so the pedestrian's role is not so wonderful. You have to go to the outside, to the slums, to really enjoy urbanism, although they're trying to fix it. So I don't want to be too harsh about it. And Oscar is still there, or still alive. I don't know if he's there. He's probably in Paris. But this is Detroit. So just to understand the impacts of this policy of defeating congestion, at the end of World War II, this is the main street in Detroit. Detroit was the most successful city in World War II. It produced more guns and planes and tanks, trucks, Ford trucks that went not just to the U.S. and Britain, but to the Soviet army to help them defeat the Nazis in this city. And this city had department stores. It had wealth. It was one of the wealthiest cities in the country. But they had congestion. And so they tried to defeat the congestion, and they succeeded. Congestion is not a big problem in Detroit anymore. They built all these roads, and it spread the economy out over the landscape. This is Berlin in 1945, in May of 1945. About 70% of the city was destroyed, and now it's built back. That's Potsdamer Platz, which was just empty land in 1989. It's filled up now. This is Warsaw at the end of the war. Warsaw, the old city, which was already built back by 1953 by the communists. They could rebuild the city. They did a few other things too. And this is Rotterdam, the photograph taken after the bombing. 2 days after the Dutch surrendered, Goering bombed it to the ground, and then they distributed the photographs so that the Parisians would know what would happen to Paris. They got the message. But it's all built back now. Rotterdam is back. But this is Detroit. About 35% of the land that was occupied at the end of the war is now empty. This is Detroit. Those are pheasant. Empty land. They defeated the congestion. They don't have a problem with it. The rush hour traffic isn't even that bad. And in New Orleans, this is Claiborne Avenue in 1947. Claiborne Avenue was where Louis Armstrong lived. It was a very successful street, black Creole neighborhood. There it is with 2,000 live oaks on 5 kilometers stretch of the street. In 1966, in order to defeat the congestion, they removed the live oak trees and put in the freeway so the cars could go faster. And that's the way it looks today. And this is the intersection of St. Bernard and Claiborne, this Claiborne Circle, We're now working with the city of New Orleans to restore Claiborne Avenue. So we'll remove the highway and put the boulevard back in. Now, the good news is the highways in the United States are falling down. They don't have the money to repair them, so they're disappearing. This is the West Side Highway, fell down in 1973 and 75 and was replaced with an ordinary street, which works fine. The Embarcadero Freeway in San Francisco is gone, and the Embarcadero Boulevard is back, and everything's better as a result. In Milwaukee, we eliminated a freeway without an earthquake, and that's the plan. And we were inspired by Prague, which has no freeways in the center of the city, and all of the bridges you can walk on. You should never build a bridge in a city that you can't walk on. And the most striking example, the best example of urban revitalization by removing a freeway, an expressway, is Seoul, South Korea, where a freeway that was built right after the Korean War and covered the river, the Chicheong River through the middle of Seoul, was removed. And here's the man who did it. He was elected mayor. See how happy he is? This is Lee Myung-bak. He's the president of the Republic of Korea now. So if you do something good, then you're happy. If you're a community leader, you do something good, you're happy. The mayor Lopez of Mexico built this neighborhood in mi cuñado's barrio, San Antonio, and see, he's not so happy. He lost. The message could not be clearer. You do the right thing, you win. You become el presidente. You do the wrong thing. Okay, so what should Bogota do? Don't build any more freeways. Build boulevards, avenues, streets. Have a low declension of streets. Paris is removing the freeways, gradually removing the freeways that they built along the Seine. And in this case, they put a beach on the freeway on a Sunday. But they're planning to go ahead and get rid of those kinds of roads. And so Bogota needs to build on its complexity. It's a city. It's not a truck stop. It's not just a place for a truck to drive through. It's a city with people and culture and complexity. And the infrastructure investments need to work with that complexity and make it stronger for all the people. And the results that come from that make it a greater and greater city, and the biggest beneficiaries are the people who live in the city. And so that's why it's so important to have the benefits of infrastructure benefit the place where the infrastructure is being placed. That's a key factor that should be considered in Bogota going forward. Muchas gracias.